concept of Iman and why is it important to this lecture and why is it important to us living our lives. The belief of Ahl Sunnah with regard to Iman is that Al-Imanu yazidu wa yanqus. It goes up and it goes down. Yazidu bil-ta'ah wa yanqusu bil-ma'siyah. It goes up when you obey Allah and it goes down when you disobey Allah. It goes up when you obey Allah and it goes down when you disobey Allah. And what is Iman? Ahlul Sunnah, they said, Iman is qawlul qalbi wa amalul qalb wa qawlul lisani wa amalul lisan wa amalul jawarih. Iman is 5 things. And if you wish, you can say 3. It doesn't matter. It's the same division. Iman is what you believe in your heart, your aqeedah, what you believe about Allah and the angels and the messengers and the last day. And what do you believe? What are the things that define you as a Muslim? This is Iman. And the actions of the heart are Iman. Your love of Allah, your fear of Allah, your hope in Allah, your tawakkul upon Allah, this is Iman. And professing your beliefs on your tongue is Iman. Saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah is Iman. And the actions you do with your tongue, remembering Allah, reciting the Quran, making dua, saying a good word, giving the salam, this is Iman. And the actions you do with your limbs are Iman. The sadaqah you give, the umrah you go to, the hajj that you go to, the walking to the masjid is Iman. And wallahi, not one person will have the proper Islamic belief until they believe that Iman is in all of these things. And until they believe that Iman increases with good deeds and decreases with sin. This is the aqeedah of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. First of all, what's the evidence? I'm just going to give you 2 ayat from Surah At-Tawbah, because we don't have time to cover many evidences, but these are enough. The statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَإِذَا مَا أُنزِلَتْ سُورَةٌ فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ أَيُّكُمْ زَادَتْهُ هَذِهِ إِيمَانًا فأما الذين آمنوا فزادتهم إيمانا وهم يستبشرون وأما الذين في قلوبهم مرض فزادتهم رجسا إلى رجسهم وماتوا وهم كافرون. When a surah comes down to them, among them are those who say, which of you did this surah increase in Iman? As for those who have Iman, this surah increased them in Iman. فَزَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. It increased them in Iman, and they rejoice, they have glad tidings. As for those who have a sickness in their heart, it increased them in their rijs, in their filth, in their corruption, in addition to the filth and corruption that was already inside of them. وَمَاتُوا وَهُمْ كَافِرُونَ. And they died as disbelievers. Wallahi, these 2 ayat are sufficient for you as a proof that Iman goes up and Iman goes down. As for Iman going up, فَزَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. It increased them in Iman. The munafiqeen were the people who said, did you get any Iman from this? As for the Sahaba, this surah increased them in Iman. As for the decrease of Iman, the people who have nifaq in their hearts. الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَض. They have nifaq in their hearts. These people, فَزَادَتْهُمْ رِجْسًا إِلَى رِجْزِهِمْ. It increased them in their corruption and their filth. Yani their disobedience to Allah decreased their Iman and increased them in corruption and evil, in addition to the corruption and evil that was already inside of them. and they died as disbelievers, the opposite to mu'minun. They died kafirun. For these two ayat are enough for us to show that Iman goes up when you obey Allah and down when you disobey Allah. Someone might ask, do you have an evidence that actions are a part of Iman, just so that my heart settles down? وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي, I want my heart just to settle down. What about the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal with regard to the changing the direction of the Qibla? وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِيعَ إِيمَانَكُمْ. Allah will never cause your Iman to be lost. Which Iman? Akhi, if you change direction of the Qibla, did you just become a Jew or a Christian? Which Iman? The Iman here is your Salah, is the direction of the Qibla. Allah called it Iman. The Salah that you pray, Allah called it Iman. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِيعَ إِيمَانَكُمْ. Allah will not cause your Iman to be lost. Your Salah. Salatakum. Allah will not cause your Salah to be lost because you change the direction of the Qibla. And the statement of the Prophet ﷺ about the shu'ab of Iman, the different levels of Iman. A'laha, what is the highest level of Iman? The kalima, the shahada, and la ilaha illallah. What is the lowest part of Iman? Imatatul adha anit tariq, taking something harmful away from the road. The highest level of Iman is something you say, and the lowest level of Iman is something you do with your hand or your foot. Why is this important, my brothers? Why are we getting agitated about it? Why is it important? Honestly, I want you to understand practically, in the real world, the danger of not believing in this concept of Iman. When someone says, Iman is in my heart alone, the only thing that matters is my heart is full of Iman and my actions are full of all kinds of haram, but my Iman, my heart is full of Iman. That person will never ever fear Allah Azza wa Jal. Because there is no reason to fear Allah Azza wa Jal if you don't believe that your actions affect your Iman. If you believe you can do every kind of haram and you can live whatever kind of life you want, as long as you believe that Allah is your Lord and deserving of worship in your heart, there is no haram that you won't do. And there is no evil that you won't stop at. And that is why what I see, وَالْعِلْمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, that has harmed our young people in this country and elsewhere, more than many other types of corrupt belief, is that there come young men and young women and they come on social media and they make videos and they're openly doing haram. The lady, she takes off a hijab. The man is there talking about the haram he does, and in the middle of the video, what do they say? They say, Akhi, don't judge me, my Iman is in my heart. Allah knows how much my heart is full of Iman. And this goes into the hearts of the young people, and what happens? People say, well, it doesn't really matter. Look, end of the day, whatever happens, I'm going to Jannah, right? There's nothing I can do from my actions that will stop me from going to Jannah. And that belief allows people to become relaxed about their religion. Rather, it causes them to play about with their religion and not to care about it and to take their religion as a joke, because to them nothing matters except the fact that I was born and my parents gave me the name Muhammad, or they gave her the name Fatima or Maryam, and I believe Allah is my Lord in my heart, and that's enough for me. Wallahi, this is from the most dangerous of beliefs. And it's widespread among the young brothers and sisters today. The people say, don't judge me. Allah knows what's in my heart. What do we say to them? Sahih, Allah knows what is in your heart. And Sahih, Allah knows what your aqibah will be. What will be your end result? Where will you go Yawm al-Qiyamah? I don't know that. But if you're asking me to judge what is in front of my two eyes, nasba aynay, what's in front of my two eyes, I'm going to judge. وَأَنِحْكُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. I'm going to judge by what Allah revealed, by what I see in front of my eyes. And how can you claim that Iman in your heart is separate from your actions after you heard the Prophet ﷺ say, ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. Indeed, in the body there's a piece of flesh. If it is righteous, the whole body will be righteous. And if it's corrupt, the whole body will be corrupt, and it's the heart. Opposite, flip that around. What we call mafhum al-mukhalafa, the opposite understanding. If you see a person whose actions are full of evil, and the Prophet ﷺ said, if the heart is righteous, the body will be righteous, and you see their actions full of evil, Ikhwani, tell me, what does it say about the heart? If the actions are full of evil, then that must be a heart that is full of evil. If the actions are 50-50, then the heart must be 50-50. If the actions are full of righteousness, then inshallah the heart is full of righteousness. Wallahi, we don't say this to judge the people, to put them into categories. But we say this to judge by what Allah sent down in the Quran and what the Prophet ﷺ came with, and to protect for the people their hearts by Allah's permission, and to protect for the people their Iman by Allah's permission. That when you teach someone the correct understanding of their Iman, they become scared. And perhaps they would make the dua of Khalilullah Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, وَاجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. He made dua to Allah, my Lord, keep me and my children away from worshipping idols. Khalilullah, Allah's chosen servant, the best of mankind after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he's scared of what? He's scared that he might, or his children might, fall into something of shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I ask the question, is it possible that Nabiullah Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, is it possible that he can do an action of shirk? Nabiullah, Khalilullah, can he make an action of shirk? Why is he scared if Iman is in his heart? When you fear for that Iman, when you're scared of losing that Iman, when you're scared of the dangers to that Iman, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise you, and Allah azza wa jal will keep it safe for you. Like Allah kept it safe for Nabiullah Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. But if you're not scared about it, if you're not fearful, then you're not like the prophets alayhim salatu wassalam, that Allah said about them, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ وَيَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا وَكَانُوا لَنَا خَاشِعِينَ. They used to race to do good deeds. The prophets, Allah said in Surah Al-Anbiya, after mentioning a group of the prophets, He mentioned Ayyub, and He mentioned Zakaria, He mentioned Yunus, and He mentioned others before that, alayhim salatu wassalam. And then Allah said, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ. They used to race to do good deeds. وَيَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا. And they used to call upon us in hope and fear. They were hopeful, but they were scared. They were scared about the danger to their Iman. They were scared of Allah. وَكَانُوا لَنَا خَاشِعِينَ. And they were humbly submissive before us. Ikhwani, if we are truly scared for our Iman becomes the most valuable thing that we have. And it becomes the one treasure that we are desperate to protect. And so we look for anything which can cause a danger to our Iman. And there's no doubt there are general dangers and there are specific dangers. Just like there are general things that increase Iman and there are specific things that increase it. From the general dangers is every sin that we do. And let's remind ourselves that sins only come from two places. There's no third place they come from. Sins only come from two places. As found in the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Sins come from two places. Al-Maghdubi alayhim are a group of the sinners. And Al-Dhalun or Al-Dhalin, they are another group. As for Al-Maghdubi alayhim, they are the people who had knowledge but didn't practice it. So the root of their sin is shahawat, desires. The root of their sin is desire. Because they know it's wrong. They know this is haram. They're not confused. They know that what they're about to do is haram. But they do it anyway. Because the love for that haram overcomes the love that they're supposed to have for Allah in the heart. And so they prefer their desires over the love of their Lord Azza wa Jal, even if it is only for a moment. And so they enter them. And that's why they became al-Maghdubi alayhim. And as for Ad-Dhalun, they are the people whose sin came out of ignorance. They don't know the difference between what's allowed and what's not allowed. So you see them, as the expression goes, riding every kind of camel. And they don't care, they don't distinguish between what is suitable and what's not suitable. For them, they don't know the difference. Juhal, ignorant. So their sins come from shubuhat. They come from confusion, misconceptions, misguidance, getting lost, not knowing what to do. So in summary, what is the cure to that? In a general way. We're not talking about specifics yet. We're getting there inshallah ta'ala. But in a general way, what is the cure for that? The cure is what is found in the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ. He is the one who sent his messenger with guidance and the religion of truth, to make it superior over all other religions. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا. Sufficient is Allah as a witness. What is al-huda? It is al-ilm al-nafi'. It's beneficial knowledge that goes against the shubuhat. This beneficial knowledge, al-ilm al-nafi', yuzilu shubuhat. It gets rid of them. وَيَكْشِفُهَا. It clarifies the reality of them. These shubuhat, they are removed and they are clarified, and light is shone upon them by al-ilm al-nafi', beneficial knowledge. What about the shahawat, the desires? The desires by al-amal al-salih, righteous actions, deen al-haq, by practicing this religion, by striving, by making tawbah and falling down and making tawbah again and falling down again and making tawbah again, and continuing to do righteous actions. وَأَتْبِعِ السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةَ تَمْحُهَا. Follow up the bad deed with a good deed, it will wipe it out. And by increasing in the love of Allah Azza wa Jal, which comes under both. Increasing in the love of Allah Azza wa Jal comes under both beneficial knowledge and righteous actions. It comes under beneficial knowledge because Allah Azza wa Jal created you to know Him. الله الذي خلق سبع سماوات ومن الأرض مثلهن يتنزل الأمر بينهن لتعلموا أن الله على كل شيء قدير وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء علما. Allah who created 7 heavens and from the earth the likes of them, His command descends between them so that you may know that Allah is able to do all things, and Allah has encompassed everything in His knowledge. Allah created this universe for you to know Him. And when you know Him, you have to love Him more. The more that you know Him, the more that you will love Him. And that is the understanding from the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The more you know your Rabb, your Murabbi, the one who takes care of you and nurtures you, the more you will love Him. And the more righteous deeds you do, and Allah gives you tawfiq, وَيَزِيدُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا هُدًى. Allah gives increasing guidance to those that are guided. So Allah Azza wa Jal will love you. We all know the famous hadith, من عاد لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب, hadith Qudusi. Whoever shows enmity to a beloved servant of mine, I declared war upon him. And Allah tells us that the way you get close to Allah is by what Allah made obligatory for you. And then by what Allah made voluntary for you. وَلَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّ. And my servant will not cease to come close to me by doing voluntary deeds after obligatory. First fard, then sunnah, until I will love him. So he loves Allah and he gains the love of Allah through righteous actions. And from this is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Say, if you really love Allah, then follow me. Allah will love you. And Allah will forgive you your sins, and Allah is all forgiving and most merciful. My dear brothers and sisters, generally we spoke a little bit about Iman going up and down and the evidences for it and the general understanding, so we're all on the same page. There is a great danger to our Iman living here in the West. And that danger is described by Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran in Surah An-Nisa between ayah number 97 to ayah number 100. That Allah Azza wa Jal said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَوَفَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ ظَالِمِي أَنفُسِهِمْ قَالُوا فِيمَ كُنْتُمْ قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها فأولئك مأواهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا إلا المستضعفين من الرجال والنساء والولدان لا يستطيعون حيلة ولا يهتدون سبيلا فأولئك عسى الله أن يعفو عنهم وكان الله عفوا غفورا. It's very scary. Those people that the angels will come to them at the time of death and they have oppressed themselves. And the angels will say, what situation were you in that we are taking you to Allah's punishment? We're about to take you to the punishment of Allah, to be punished. What made you like that? فِيمَ كُنْتُمْ. What were you involved in? They reply back, كُنَّا مُسْتَضَعِفِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. We were weak upon the earth. We were a group of Muslims living among the non-Muslims and they oppressed us and we didn't practice our religion properly because of them. Will the angels accept their excuse? قَالُوا أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً. Wasn't the earth of Allah big enough for you? Couldn't you find anywhere else that you could have gone? That you weren't among these non-Muslims who made it hard for you to practice your religion? Couldn't you have found another place to go? فَتُهَاجِرُوا فِيهَا. You could have migrated, you could have made hijrah in it. فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ. These people, their destination is Jahannam. وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. Did Allah make an exception for anybody? He did. إِلَّا الْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ لا يستطيعون حيلة ولا يهتدون سبيلا. They were a group of oppressed men, women and children. They couldn't do anything to get out of the situation they were in. And they couldn't find any way. What does the ayah tell us? They were trying. They were trying every way to get out. They tried to go from this road, from that road. They tried this way and that way. But in the end of the day, they were trapped. They couldn't move from the place they were in. فَأُولَٰئِكَ عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَعْفُوَ عَنْهُمْ. Those people, we hope Allah will pardon them. What does this word pardon mean? That originally they were in a state of sin, but Allah has waived it for them and pardoned them because they couldn't find any single way to leave. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَفُوًا غَفُورًا. And Allah is always pardoning and forgiving. Add to that the hadith of Jarir ibn Abdullah from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that he said, أَنَا بَرِيءٌ مِّن كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ يُقِيمُ بَيْنَ أَظْهُرِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. I have nothing to do with any Muslim who lives among the polytheists, among the mushrikeen. I'm nothing to do with him. Him and me, we are separate from each other. The hadith narrated by Abu Dawood and At-Tirmidhi, hadith sahih. It's an authentic hadith. For my dear brothers and sisters, this shows us the reality is it's a danger to us. Sahih, now comes the excuses, right? بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرًا. Rather, a person knows himself better. How many excuses you put forward, you know the reality of the situation you're in. But there's no doubt at all that every single one of us needs to be thinking about why we're here. And I'm not saying for tomorrow everybody's going to buy a ticket and leave. There's no masjid going to be empty. Nobody going to come for Salat al-Fajr tomorrow. The reality is there are people who came for a short time. There are people who have studies. There are people who have some business they're finishing off. There are people who are not able to do anything else. Like, shouldn't we start to think about the idea of hijrah? I'm not even talking about wujub al-hijrah or adam wujub al-hijrah. I'm just talking about, shouldn't we at least have in our mind, we compromise so much on our deen living in this country. So many things we compromise, so many things. How many excuses you give, but the reality is day and night we compromise. So the first thing that should be in our mind is it possible for me to consider, to plan, to think about exploring the vast earth of Allah Azza wa Jal to find a place that is more suitable for me and my religion? But that's not the topic of my talk today. The topic of my talk today is living here in the West. We decided we don't have an option right now. I'm working on it, inshaAllah ta'ala. It's in the forefront of my mind. And wallahi, ikhwani, the only reason I say this to you is min bab al-nush, from the point of view of nasiha. Because if I don't tell you, maybe Yawm al-Qiyamah, when the angels come, you might say, this brother sat in front of me and he never said to me. But I want to say it clearly to you. Let everybody think, is there a way I could leave living among these kuffar? Is there a way that I could move to a place where I could live among the Muslims and be among them? And ikhwani, if the answer is no, the first thing I want you to think about is, where do you live? I'm talking about exactly, precisely, even in this very city. Because there are ways to come closer to the masjid, closer to the Muslim community. And the reason I say this is, Islam came to achieve everything that is good. And where that good cannot be achieved, to increase the good that can be achieved. And Islam came to remove everything evil. And where the evil cannot be removed, to make it as small and as little as possible. So maybe you say, I can't get up and leave. I have family commitments, I have work commitments, I'm studying, I have this, I have that. I don't have an option, I'm not able right now, I don't have the finances, I don't have a good option to travel somewhere, I don't have a means of living. Tayyib, first question is, we can't achieve 100% gold standard. How can we get closer to it? At least we can be careful to live within the Muslim community in the city we're in, to be close to the masjid, to be involved with the Muslim community here as much as possible. At least that's a beginning step we can take. Rather, I say to you, my dear brothers and sisters, our discussion about strengthening our Iman while living here in the West is going to come back around in reality to 3 issues. And all of our discussion can be summarized inside of these 3 issues, insha'Allah ta'ala. The first one is that we learn from our religion that which safeguards our Iman by Allah's permission and increases it. That's the first thing. For you to be here among the non-Muslims, in their places, in their work, places of work and their schools and their shops and so on, and their houses, to be among those people, there is a danger to you. And we said the danger is not small. The danger is not small at all. The danger is a severe danger. فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. It's a very big danger here. Jahannam is mentioned in the ayah. But ikhwani, should we not at least learn enough about our deen by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect us from the shubuhat that surround us, the misconceptions and the confusion? Should we not learn enough of our deen? Isn't it the case that every Muslim is required to learn the fundamentals of their religion? Is that not true? It is, right? Every Muslim, man and woman, male and female, is required to learn the basics of their religion. Nobody is exempt. طيب, if no one is exempt, what are these things we have to learn? I like to summarize them in 3 things that we have to learn. The first thing that we have to learn is we have to learn the pillars of Islam. The meaning of the Shahadatain and the actions that come out of it and the conditions for it. The prayer, how to pray, how to make wudu, and so on. We learn how to fast, how to give the zakah, if the zakah becomes obligatory upon us. And we learn about the obligation of Hajj, and if it comes to the time that we travel there, then we learn the rulings of it as well, as much as what we need. The second thing that we have to learn is we have to learn the pillars of Iman. We have to learn what it means to believe in Allah and His angels and His scripture and His prophets and the last day and the divine decree, the good of it and the bad. And that's a big topic, but we start to learn those things as much as what we can. And there's a third category, and that is we learn what we need in the situation that we are living in. So for example, let's just say that you're a businessman here. You have a business. You have to learn the fiqh of buyu', the fiqh of buying and selling. You can't say, I don't know about it, I don't know, I didn't know how to do it. This is your obligation now. You have to do it. You're a businessman. You decided to open a shop. You decided to open a trading company. You decided to buy and sell. So now you have to know, what is it haram to buy and haram to sell, and what are the ways, and what is riba, and what is it, the methods that you're allowed to take for payment, and all of this. You have to learn it because you chose to open your business. You chose to work that. So now you have to learn the Islamic rulings around it. Included in this, let's say for example you're a father. You have to learn the rulings of having children. Learn the rights of your children over you and your rights over them, and what Allah Azza wa Jal expects you to do with regard to the children you have. Likewise a mother. If you are living in the West, then you have to learn fiqh al-aqalliyat, the fiqh of living as a Muslim minority, because that's a condition we're in right now. Every one of us is living as a Muslim minority. And we're not the majority in the country. We are the minority. And there is a fiqh to do with that. Many issues every day you're going to come across. You're going to say, my school doesn't let me do Jumu'ah, and my workplace doesn't give me enough time to go to the Salatul Jama'ah. And you're going to come up with issues that is like living in this country. What is it like to live here? You're going to come up with issues. You have to learn them. You have to go and ask, get the answers, implement it. This is my first point of the minimum that you have to do to strengthen your Iman, specifically in the West, is to get the knowledge that will keep you safe. That is the knowledge of the pillars of Islam and Iman, and the knowledge of that which relates to the situation that you are in. And in this, my brothers, I want to make an important point. A lot of people make a mistake in this. They get the knowledge after they do something. This is very common. People come and say, Ustadh, you know, last week I did this and I did that, and I bought this and I bought that, and I didn't pray this and I didn't pray that, or I did this and I did that. Was it allowed? We say it would have been much better if you could have asked about it before it happened. Sometimes it wasn't your fault. قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ وَمَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. It just happened like that. But wherever possible, if you imagine next week I'm going on a journey, don't come back and say, I prayed all my 4 prayers together at one time. You think you're going to go on a journey, go and ask before the journey starts, I'm going to be praying on the plane. Do I pray like this? Do I pray like that? When do I start? When do I stop? How do I know the time? Can I pray sitting down? So you learnt the situation that you're in. The second thing that is essential to safeguard our Iman in the West is to establish the symbols of our religion in the country that we are living in. To establish the actions which are the symbols of this religion, the sha'air of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means establishing masajid and attaching your heart to them. You might say, we've already got a beautiful masjid. Allahumma barik, fantastic. But I can see in the back that there's an appeal to extend the masjid, to make it better, to make it bigger, to make it more suitable to serve this community living as a minority here in the West. For is it not obligatory upon us all, at least from a point of view of kifaya, is it not an obligation collectively upon us that we support establishing this masjid and expanding it and building it up and increasing it so that it can serve the community? Is the masjid not from sha'airullah? The symbols that Islam is known by, the masjid. The first thing the Prophet ﷺ did when he came to Quba, before he even reached Medina in his hijrah, is he built a masjid. Then he went on to Medina and he built another masjid. The sunnah is the first time you set foot in a place, the first thing you do is build a masjid. So we have to attach ourselves to it. Ikhwani, the people who work in this masjid work very hard. And I'm sure there is a need of volunteers, there is a need of support, there is a need of financial support, there is a need of physical support. Support your masjid. Be a part of it with whatever skill you've got. وَابْتَغِي فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ. Use what Allah has given you to seek the akhirah. Madaris, schools. Do we not need Islamic schools? Every single one of us cries for our children who go to mainstream schools. Wallahi, you send your child to a mainstream school, you feel as though you put that child into Jahannam. However good the school is. 5-star Ofsted rating, no problem. You feel like you put your child into Jahannam. The child comes back with every kind of shubha and shahwa. Rather they come back with shubuhat and shahawat that we never even heard of before. Akhi, you sent your child believing there's just men and women. The child came back with 72 genders. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not.
Yes, you're allowed.
Jazakumullah khairan. Allah is dangerous. Do we not need to establish Islamic madaris? Okay, we're not there yet, no problem. We do our best. We send our kids and we try to look after them. We homeschool where we can and we do our best. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. But at least we're trying, we have a plan. There's one brother, he's good at management and he's good at planning things. One brother's good at projects. One brother's good at raising finances. One is a teacher. One used to be a deputy head in the school. Sisters and whatever it might be. And together, with a collective cooperation, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Cooperate upon piety and the fear of Allah, keeping away from the haram and so on. And don't cooperate upon sin and transgression. And they come together and they start something small. Maybe it's just an after-school club for the kids, and then slowly it becomes a nursery, and maybe after that it becomes something more. Because the reality is, even if everyone in this room leaves this country tomorrow, there are going to still be hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of Muslims remaining here who need the religion of Islam to have a firm footprint in this country. Also from this second point is establishing the da'wah to Allah among the non-Muslims that live here. And we can make this into the third point if we want to. No problem, we'll make it into the third one. Because the third point is to safeguard your Iman in the West. Is al-amr bil-ma'roof wa-nahy 'anil munkar. To command that which is good and to forbid that which is evil. According to the Islamic rules of doing so. Because if you're here and you say, I'm here for a maslahah, I'm here for a reason. I'm not here because I just like the weather. I'm here for a reason. Yani I'm here for a reason that is acceptable in the Sharia. Then I'm going to say, are you commanding what is good and forbidding what is evil? كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You're the best people who've ever been brought out for the people. You command what is good and you forbid what is evil and you believe in Allah. And the greatest of al-amr bil-ma'roof and nahi 'anil munkar is to command the people to tawheed and to forbid them from shirk. And that means reaching out to the non-Muslims here. Every day we come into contact with non-Muslims. Workplaces, shops, businesses, homes. Not everybody you can speak to, but sometimes you start a little conversation. And after a while, and I can see faces here, I know that there are in this room, there's some people who accepted Islam, some new Muslims who accepted Islam. Walillahi alhamd. And that's because of Allah's guidance and then because of the efforts of a group of people who just talk to people. Conversation, give a leaflet, something, whatever it might be. Just a kind word. Show your Islam. Don't be frightened. Don't feel like you have to dress up like them. Show your Islam. Don't be frightened. Somebody says to you, why are you praying there? What are you doing? I'm a Muslim. Someone says to you, Merry Christmas. What do you say to them? You're thinking, this is a fursa for me for da'wah. You say to them, you know, I don't celebrate Christmas. Do you know why? Because I'm a Muslim. Do you know what Muslims believe? No, I don't know what Muslims believe. Why don't you celebrate Christmas for? And you start a little conversation with them about Islam. Would you like to know something more about Islam? Would you be interested to know? Do you ever think about what all the Muslims do at this time when you people are putting your trees and celebrating? Do you think about it? Maybe they say to you, Happy New Year. You say, I don't celebrate New Year either. I say, not even New Year. No, I don't celebrate it. What do you celebrate then? We have two Eids, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha. Did you ever see the Muslims? So you start a little conversation and through that maybe the person's heart opens to Islam. This is obligatory as a collective duty upon all of us. Or do you think there's enough people accepted Islam in this country, we should just leave them now? There's not enough, right? So it's a collective responsibility upon every single one of us, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Ikhwani, I want to finish by talking about a handful of good deeds that have a very special position in relation to Iman. Every good deed increases your Iman. We learned this, right? Principle. Every single good deed you do, even if you pick up some litter from the road, it increases you in Iman. If you saw a piece of glass on the side of the road and you moved it away with your foot, or you picked it up and put it in the bin, this increased you in Iman. But there are certain good deeds that give you a huge boost. A huge boost in Iman. And I'm going to give you just a few. Maybe we'll do 5. There's many, but I'm just going to give you a few. The first one, seeking beneficial knowledge. And we already spoke about it. Like when you get beneficial knowledge, this conference you've attended, you listen to the talks, didn't you feel that you increased in Iman? I felt like I increased in Iman. Ijlis bina nu'min sa'a. Come sit with us and we'll get Iman for a little while. The second thing, your relationship with the Quran. Reciting the Quran, pondering upon it, the tafsir of it. Wallahi, you know what, last Ramadan we sat in the masjid and we just read the translation. People say you did tafsir of the Quran. It wasn't tafsir of the Quran. We read the translation. All we did is read the translation of the meaning of the Quran. Like a super highly summarized one-line tafsir. And many people said, we never did this before. Even though the translations of the meaning of the Quran are widely available in every masjid. There's some right over there, I can see them. Many people never ever read it all the way through or even a part of it. Many people don't read a fixed portion of the Quran every single day. وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِ اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. The messenger will say, my Lord, indeed my people have abandoned this Quran. Connect your heart to the Quran and you will feel a huge boost in your Iman. Memorizing, even if it's a little bit, you'll feel a huge boost in your Iman. A little bit of tafsir, you'll feel a huge boost in your Iman. The third, mujahadatun nafs, fighting against yourself. Find something that you find hard to do and start a war against yourself. And fight it. And the hardest thing you'll ever fight is your own nafs. And that's, by the way, that is thabit in the hadith, in the sunnah. That the greatest thing you'll ever fight against is your nafs. Or words close to that meaning. So you find something that's hard. You said, you know what it is? I'm just bad with Fajr in the masjid. I've come for the salawat, but Fajr, I'm always, this month, Fajr in the masjid every single day. Bismillah. You feel yourself, the Iman goes up. Because you're striving against yourself and you're fighting against yourself. From the things that raise a person's Iman is to help your brother or sister for the sake of Allah. Sometimes, subhanallah, you just do something small. Everything help. It's not always about big amounts of money, or it says it's something very small. Wallahu fi auni al-abd ma kana al-abdu fi auni akhi. Allah will help a person as much as that person helps their brother or their sister. Sometimes when I feel really down and I feel struggling and I'm just feeling like the effects of that cover over your heart. وَإِنَّهُ لَيُغَانُ عَلَى قَلْبِي. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, you feel like a cover over your heart or like a veil over your heart. Sometimes you just find someone sent you a message, just needs something. Say, Akhi wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. May Allah make it easy for you. You made dua for your brother. May Allah make it easy for you. Perhaps the angel will say, Ameen, and may you get the same. What can I do for you, akhi? Well, I just need something, this. Okay, bismillah, I try to help you. Meet me in, after dhuhr, after asr. Wallah, you feel the effect on your iman go up. And thinking about the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Thinking about ayatullah al-kawniyah. The ayat of Allah Azza wa Jal. في الآفاق في أنفسكم, on the horizons and in yourselves. You see these ayat of Allah Azza wa Jal and it increases you in iman. But these are just a few, and there are many. We could have picked many, but I just picked a few that are easy to do. So when you feel that cover come over your heart, like the Prophet ﷺ said about his own heart, the purest heart among the entire of Bani Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, and he said, I feel a veil go over my heart. And I feel just that maybe I didn't remember Allah. I feel just a cover come over my heart. It goes away by remembering Allah Azza wa Jal. So you listen to a beneficial lecture, something that you're used to listen to, you listen to some Quran, you try to memorize a few ayat, you go help a brother, you go strive against yourself for something that was difficult, you come to a class in the masjid, you reflect upon the ayat of Allah Azza wa Jal that are all around you, on the horizon and in yourself. And from this, and I'll mention a last one, is to do a good deed completely and totally in secret. To do a good deed completely and totally in secret. What I mean by that is nobody knows about it, not even your family, not even the people in your house, nobody knows about it. And you don't tell anyone, you don't hint towards it or even mention it. For perhaps that good deed that you kept hidden might be worth more than a lot of the things that you did in front of the eyes of the people. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma ati nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we find in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, inna al-imana la yakhlaqu fi jawfi ahadikum kama yakhlaqu al-thawb. فاسألوا الله تعالى أن يجدد الإيمان في قلوبكم. Iman wears out in your heart like your clothing wears out. So ask Allah to renew the Iman in your heart. We ask Allah, Allahumma jaddid al-Iman fi qulubina. We ask Allah to renew the Iman in our heart. وَجَعَلْنَا هُدَاةً مُهْتَدِينَ. We ask Allah to make us guided and people who are a reason to guide others. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to safeguard for us our religion, to safeguard for us our dunya, and to safeguard for us our akhirah. هذا والله أعلم والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.